Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner. And joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. I tell you what, Ash, it's been a while since we've done this. This feels a bit weird. How you doing?
Yeah, it does feel a bit weird, doesn't it? It's been what seems like an age. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm actually really looking forward to the new season, which is, I know, goes against a lot of other United fans' thoughts. But I'm looking forward. I'm ready to go. And yeah, bring on the footy. How about yourself?
First of all, I do agree with you. I think that does go against the grain slightly, looking forward to this season. In a way, I kind of am, purely just because of the fact that football is back. You know, the Saturday afternoons or the Sunday afternoons back in front of the TV. You know, got all the football on, got beer in hand, you know, all that sort of thing. I'm looking forward to all that again, but I'm just not looking forward to the football, to watching Man United play, to be honest. The whole idea of football being back is great. I'm looking forward to that. But then the thought of Man United play after the preseason, it's just putting a bit of a downer on things. And I think the feeling is like that amongst most of the United fan base. If you look at Twitter, at least anyway, and you could say, it's preseason, you can't really go on preseason, but my thoughts on that are, yeah, it's only preseason. You can say it's all about fitness, but it's also about, practicing game plans and tactics and things like that. And when nothing's going right, it just seems like it's a waste, and morale's going to be down. I mean, what were your thoughts on the? I'll tell you what, actually, yeah, go on, give me your thoughts on the preseason.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you said, because in a sense that, we all know that the results aren't going to be really a marker for what's going on. I mean, if you look at some of our results, we got absolutely battered by Liverpool, and we beat Real Madrid, and then it's complete nonsense. But what you are right is, it's a chance to experiment with some things and see how the squad gels and try different things. And one thing that I really think we should be doing in pre-season, at times, is throwing caution to the wind, and really going for it, really opening it up and letting our attacking players express themselves. And something that didn't really happen, and that was one of the things that upset and frustrated me, during large parts of that pre-season tour, that we never really got going. I mean, I think I can count on one hand how many times we scored over the whole of the pre-season. Wasn't it something like 4 or 5 goals?
Something like that.
And, against teams, no disrespect, but the likes of San Jose Earthquakes and Club America. And, we scored the most goals we scored against Real Madrid, which is an odd one. But yeah, it was, there's some positives. I try and take as many positives away from this preseason, because there was a few. But yeah, it was frustrating. But in a way, I think it might be a blessing, because, we've highlighted a lot of problem areas. Obviously, we're not going to sort them all before the end of the window. Which is it Thursday? I think is something like that. I believe
so, yeah.
But I think it's highlighted a few things, and I think maybe Jose's made a point as well, to the board and to Mr. Woodward. How lacking our squad is, because it is. So yeah, it's a few positives, but overall, yeah, quite a frustrating and a bit of a boring pre-season.
So go on and give us your positives. What were you most pleased or most encouraged about out of that pre-season?
Well, I think probably first and foremost is someone who people have known me for quite a few years know that I've been following him since he was 16, is Andreas Pereira. Massive fan of the kid, always have been. I followed his career since he came to United, and it's really, really refreshing to see him doing well, putting his head down and playing to the level that he can play. Because for me, he was our best player on tour. I think he had the most minutes out of every single person in the squad, which is great. And I think he, we say it every season, will this youngster get a chance, and will they be in the squad and whatnot? But I think, the World Cup, that having finished and people having rests after that, I think it could be a blessing, because I think Pereira will get some game time, and I think he's, a lot different to Matic. Obviously, he wants to play in that number 6 role. And I said it at times last season, Matic has been too slow when we look too laboured. Well, Pereira is the complete opposite for me. He's tenacious. He's fantastic with the ball at his feet. And he works so hard for the team. So he probably my biggest plus, because I'm a massive fan. And another massive plus as well, I think, was Alexis Sanchez. His first summer off in, 5 or 6 years or whatever, and he looked reinvigorated. He looked energetic. He looked raring to go at times during pre-season. And, whether he gets to start through the middle against Leicester, because Lukaku, I don't know if he'll be ready. It's nice to have him back, I think, and ready to go and starting the season afresh. A few other positives, obviously, like, Chong having getting minutes, Andreas Pereira, Dimitri Mitchell had a few games as well. He showed some promise, and others as well. So, you can look at those positives and say it was decent, but I don't think that everyone sort of gelled and there was a little bit too much mix and match to really put something cohesive together. But I'm looking at it as a positive.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Andreas Pereira. After the first couple of games, at least, the easier games, I was very, very impressed with him. The last time I've actually seen him play was, I think it was 2 summers ago when he was with us on tour. I can't remember. I think it was last year China or the year before.
I think. Oh, was it the year before?
I think it might have been the year before. So it might have been the tour before that one then when he was with us.
Yeah.
He's been away for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I've not watched him while he was been away. So I've not been as excited about him as other people have, who have obviously watched him whilst he's been at Valencia. But when I was watching him play in this tour, I was really impressed with him. He looks, and this obviously comes from the experience of being on loan, but he looked very comfortable. Didn't look nervous. He knew what he was doing. His passing range is fantastic. He's good, like you say, he's good with the ball at his feet. He can bring it out of a tight situation. And I was really encouraged by the way he played. And it surprised me because, like I said, the last time I seen him was a few years ago. And I didn't really have the same hype that everyone else did. But now I do.
Yeah.
I really do hope that he features a lot during this season because I think he deserves to.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that later. So I think someone has brought that up in one of the comments, which we'll look at later on in the recording. Another positive for me, not as much as Andreas Pereira, but Fred. So I thought he's had a couple of good games. He was awarded the man of the match against Bayern Munich, but I think that was probably by default because I think the whole team really rapport. I mean, Fred, I don't think he was that great against Bayern Munich. A lot of his passes went wayward, but so did a lot of people. But that's mainly due to how good Bayern Munich were off the ball. They were absolutely fantastic. They didn't give us a chance. Even when we did bring the ball out of the midfield and try to play a pass, they were all over us. We had absolutely no chance. So I thought, as much as we were bad, Bayern Munich, if you got to be honest, they were very good, very tenacious. And they made us look average, basically. And that's, again, a reflection of the squad that we've got and the ability that we have. Something that, the board and Ed Woodward need to take note of. Another positive, Tahith Chong, you mentioned him as well. I thought he looks very lively, very bright. When I was watching the Bayern Munich game, the only part of that game where I got a little bit excited was when he came on and won us a corner within 10 seconds. That was the most exciting part of the game.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be when he came on. Whether he features this season or not, I don't know. I don't think he will because I think Mourinho has already said earlier on during the tour that, he's almost there. He's not got that physicality about him yet. One slight knock and he's off the ball. And he's not wrong there when he says that. But, some players are like that. So I don't think we'll see much of him. But let's see, enough of my rambling. Let's see what other people, because we did put a tweet out after the Bayern Munich game. I've gone and lost it now. Bear with me. We did put, and I had it on the screen just 2 seconds ago and I went and ticked off it, didn't I? I did put a tweet out after the Bayern Munich game, basically saying, so with an underwhelming preseason now over, I think that's a fair statement, and it was underwhelming. With that now over, can you think of any positives to take from it? So let's see what the people on Twitter were saying. So I won't read all of them because I'll be here all night otherwise. But Andrew Southwick, Andrew. It's been a while since you've done that as well. He says Andreas Pereira is far and away the positive of the preseason. Could easily see him being like Carrick. Gavin Thorpe simply just says no. That he's obviously not seeing any positives. Fair enough.
Yep.
Michael Stow, only one AP15, Andreas Pereira.
Yep. And
we will probably never see him again once Matic is fit. I think that was what I was going to mention a moment ago. He's got a good point there. We know how much Mourinho loves Matic. So when Matic is fit, it wouldn't surprise me to see him first choice over Pereira, maybe in the midfield 3, Matic, Pogba, if he stays, I'm sure he will, and Fred. So it could end up being that Pereira, again, is going to be a bench player, which, let's be honest, we want squad depth. That's a good bench player to have, to be fair.
It is. Yeah.
And no doubt he will get a lot of rotation with Matic because, as we know, Matic can't play a whole season on his own in that position. So we might see quite a lot of Pereira, maybe not as much as a lot of us would hope. Orbia, Andreas and Fred, that's it. Benjamin Barth, preseason doesn't matter. The few good players we have weren't there, but the football is boring and makes me sleepy. But we already knew that. We are completely knackered on right back, left back, right wing, maybe centre back, depending on Bailey's fitness. But Pereira was impressive. So he's got a few good points there. There's a lot of positions where we are light still, which should have been addressed. I'm sure Mourinho would have mentioned this to the board and to Ed Woodward, and they obviously haven't delivered. Spliff politics. Andreas Pereira is the only positive. Hirak, gosh, jersey sales increased. Yeah, he probably did in America. Luke Shaw cannot be our starting left back. He has to learn that role from an accomplished player. I'm not sure if that's a positive. Max Hurd, thank God I haven't got MUTV. I'm changing a lot of swear words. Even though I swear, but a positive 10 free kicks versus Bayern from Danny Gallagher, and Chris Dowsell simply says it's over. So that's one positive of pre-season. So that's what the fans are thinking. So a lot of common theme there is Andreas Pereira. Everyone seems to be excited about him. So hopefully we see more of him during this season. You've got anything else to add to that then? Ask about pre-season?
Yeah, well, I like the fact they said, I can't. Who was it again who said it? You changed the swear word. Ike Ugola, he mentioned something there again, and Benjamin Bath. They said we are completely knackered on right back, left back, and right wing. And I think it really did highlight at times. I thought, on occasions, our midfield looked decent. As we mentioned, we talked enough about Pereira. Fred coming in as well. We've got some depth there. Obviously, still got Pogba to come back. He'll be, raring to go as well, and added confidence. Obviously, getting that World Cup win. But I think one sort of position that really did get highlighted on the tour was our fullbacks. I thought, for the most part, we were very, very poor in the fullback positions. I thought Luke Shaw got caught out of position so many times, and people know that how much of a fan I am of Luke Shaw, but he just didn't look at the races. He's worked hard. He's got back to fitness, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a little bit of rust. He needs to work out of his system, but he just didn't look on it. In the Bayern game was a perfect example. He got caught on so many occasions, just ball watching and not tracking his runners. And I think obviously Darmian on the right hand side, he looks set to start, which is horrendous that he's starting over Timbo Mensah, but. And I think apart from 20 minutes against Real Madrid, Darmian started really well.
Hasn't Timbo gone out on loan?
Well, apparently he's going to Germany, isn't he?
Or to Berlin or something.
That's it, yeah, I think so. But
it surprises me considering how light we are in that position with Diogo Dalot injured.
Yeah, exactly. And we Antoine Zabi's gone to Villa as well now. He's gone for a season-long loan back to Villa where he was last season. Hopefully he can stay fit and get a lot of minutes under his belt. So, that's another member of the squad in defence that's down. Everything's pointing towards a defensive signing. As you mentioned, Dalot is out till September, so he's not going to be able to feature. Valencia, I don't think he'll feature at the weekend because, coming back off a bit of a break. So
an injury as well, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah. He got a knock, didn't he? Along with, I think, Herrera's got a knock as well. And who else had a knock?
Eric Bailly.
Eric Bailly, yeah, who I thought was superb against Bayern Munich until he went off, by the way. But it was nice to see Bailly and Lindelof, and I think that's a partnership that can really work. But if the rumours are true and we are looking to bring in a centre-back, it's going to be a job who we're going to pair them with. I'm assuming Eric Bailly, but his fitness it worries me. It really does.
It's like he's made of glass. He goes down at least 2 or 3 times in the game, and I think he's just doing it to toy with us. I think half the time he's fine.
Yeah.
Or he's just trying to buy some time for everyone else to sort of, get their breath back or something. I don't know. But I'm glad you mentioned Luke Shaw because I was really hopeful for him.
Yeah.
For this pre-season, but so disappointing. I was so disappointed with him in his performance. This was his chance to, make Mourinho stand up and take note, and to prove a lot of the fans wrong, because a lot of the fans wanted him to succeed as well. No one dislikes Luke Shaw. No. Like they do with certain other players, but it was just disappointing not to see him take that chance. because he wasn't that good. Like you said, he got caught out of position a lot of times. And even going forward, normally he's so good going forward, but I just didn't think he didn't have no potency about him.
No.
Well, let's move forward then.
Yes.
We have the Premier League is upon us.
Yes.
Our first fixture against Leicester. Do your thing, Ash. Leicester preview.
So again, we normally look at form and previous games and all sorts, but we've really got nothing to look at as it's a fresh slate. So we'll come into this, fresh. We're looking ahead. For me, I'm positive. I mean, you look at Leicester; they had a bit of a mixed preseason. I think they had 2 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Most recently, I think they had a 2-1 win against Lille, where Iheanacho scored both the goals. And you look at sort of what kind of summer they've had. They've sold Mahrez, arguably one of their best players to City. They signed Gazal from Monaco to replace him. I couldn't tell you anything about him, to be honest. Apparently he looks promising, but I've never seen him play. Ahmed Musa, another good player. He's gone to Saudi Arabia. And there's all those talks of is old slabhead Harry Maguire, is he going to start in central defence? There's rumours of him coming to United. I don't know what's going to happen, but he's going to be full of confidence following his decent performance at the World Cup. So, and you look at their danger man, how we get, because Leicester over the last couple of seasons they've always given us a game. I think it last season that we beat them, or was the season before we beat them twice? I can't remember.
You did, yeah. I think both games 3-1. I think something like that.
That's it, something like that. So, but obviously they're gonna have danger men. They're gonna have people that are gonna pose a threat to us, and especially the way we're coming off our preseason with a little bit of mixed form. So, for me, I've put down 4 names as usual. I've put down Ndidi in midfield. I've put down Mr. Gray, not the one from 50 Shades. I've put down Jamie Vardy, and I've put down Iheanacho as well. Those are my 4 players.
Well, I've gone slightly different.
Okay.
I think yours are more thought through, to be honest. But I've gone with Vardy, Okazaki, and Iheanacho, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
We know what all 3 of those players are capable of. Okazaki, he's a battler. He can give defence problems. Jamie Vardy with his pace, Iheanacho with his pace and finishing. We know what he's capable of. So we know that they can cause us problems. And also their defence. They've got a decent defence, especially the centre-back pairing of what's usually Morgan and Maguire.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it easy for our strikers. And the way we've played pre-season, we've not really had any sort of attacking practice, really, have we? When you think about it, we spent most of our time in our own half defending. But hopefully, with certain players coming back, that will change. But yeah, Leicester, as we don't really need to talk too much about Leicester because everyone knows about Leicester. Everyone knows what they're capable of. They won a Premier League only 2 seasons ago. But yeah, there are some danger men in there which can cause us problems. If we need to get an early goal, we need to put them on the back foot. We need to set the tone. So if we let Leicester do that, then they can hurt us.
I think it's good as well that we're starting off the season at Old Trafford.
Yes.
I think get the crowd behind the team. Show the support. Really cheer the boys on. I think, if we get that first win, I think it stands us in good stead. Everyone's, coming back into fitness. I think once we get the boys who've been at the World Cup backfiring again, looking sharp, because I think they're only going to improve this season, in my opinion. I think Lukaku's going to be settled in more. I think maybe with the depth of, quality that we have now, players coming through and players looking sharper, I think we're going to have more chances, hopefully, fingers crossed anyway. Pogba, I'm hoping that he's going to be a lot more confident. He looked a lot more composed at the World Cup, a lot more disciplined, things that we've criticised him for in the past. So, people say going into this season, they're not very confident, but to be honest, I think we have improved somewhat. There's, Pereira's like a new signing to us. As I mentioned, Sanchez, he could be like a new signing because he's fresh off a summer off. So I'm optimistic. I think it could be, I don't want to say a comfortable game, but I'm hoping for a win. And give us your 11.
So just as a reminder to everyone listening, towards the end of last season, I think for the last three matches, we ended up drawing, I think, Ash.
Yeah.
But for the last 3 matches, me and Ash decided to do a little head-to-head on predicted 11s for the games that we do on the preview. So as long as you're up for it, Ash, we'll continue that and start afresh this season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So my predicted 11,
Yeah.
For Friday, starting from the back, David De Gea in goal, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that Mourinho is probably going to be a little bit worried about Eric Bailly.
Yeah.
So I don't think Bailly is going to start. And I've gone with the Lindelof and Smalling pairing.
Yeah.
I would obviously prefer Lindelof and Bailly, but I think he's going to go Lindelof and Smalling, just because he can rely on Smalling.
Yeah.
Right back, I've gone with Darmian, so I think that's the only option. I'm going 4-3-3, by the way.
Yeah.
Left back, I'm going to put Shaw in there. I think he's probably going to pick Young, but I don't think Young. I've not seen anything about Young is back at Carrington, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah. I think most of the
But
boys.
I've already put Shaw, so I've got to stick with Shaw now.
Yeah.
A midfield three of Fred, Pereira, and Pogba. Now,
Yeah.
some people might think, well, Pogba and Lukaku aren't going to play because they haven't had a pre-season. They're going to have a week off. I'm thinking, well, no. I know people who work 50 hours a week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard labour. They don't complain. These footballers, they don't need that much bloody rest, for God's sake. So Pogba's back at Carrington. He's training. He's got 4 days of training, as has Lukaku. That's more than enough. They don't even get that much training between games. I've gone with Pogba, Pereira, and Fred as a midfield three.
Yeah.
And then the front three of Sanchez, Lukaku, and Mata.
Ooh.
That's my prediction.
Lukaku, Sanchez, and Mata you've gone for.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting because there's only one difference in both of our teams.
Oh, really?
Which is good. See, great minds and all that. So it'll boil down to this. Again, I've gone for a 4-3-3. De Gea, exactly the same back four. Darmian, Smalling, Lindelof, and Shaw. Exactly the same midfield. Pereira, Fred, and Pogba. Except up front is the only change for me. I've gone with Mata and Sanchez, but I've put in Marcus Rashford instead.
Okay.
The only reason because some of Mourinho's comments, was it after the game yesterday, said that Rashford will be, a little bit fitter and stuff on Friday. He didn't really hint that he was going to start, but I'd like to see Lukaku start, but I've got a sneaky feeling that Rashford might get the nod. Plus, he's taken that number 10 shirt apparently now. So, I don't know. So that's that. At least it's different. At least it makes it interesting.
Absolutely. Score prediction?
I'm going first, am I?
Go on, then.
2-0.
Oh, I'm going 2-1.
Okay.
I'm going 2-1.
Lovely.
Well, that's the preview done. Do you want to take it over to Twitter?
Nice and easy. Yes, let's do. I've got to find this tweet now. That's the trouble because I'm on the other one.
I'm one step ahead of you, boy.
Oh, you're already there, see? So, yeah, as normal, back for the first podcast of the 18-19 season. So give us anything you'd like to discuss. So top of the shop then, Mr. Matthew McFadden. Thank you for your question, Matt. He says, thoughts on Rashford taking the number 10 shirt? Personally, I'm very mixed about it. I feel like if he had another 2 years to really establish himself as a star player, he'd have earned it more. But it's nice to see a youth academy graduate get it. He adds, also, with all the despair and negativity in the fan base, we should at least look on the bright side and say at least we got Lukaku over Morata.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Rashford taking the 10. What do you think?
To be honest, it's like the whole Martial debacle of last season or the season before that, when his number was switched from 9 to 11.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hoo-ha about it, and my thoughts on it were, for Christ's sake, it's just a shirt number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's important on that shirt is the badge on the front, not the name and number on the back. The badge on the front. That's what's important. That's what you should worry about. If you're pulling a shirt on with that badge on the front, then you should be happy, as far as I'm concerned. So when it comes to shirt numbers, I'm really not fussed. If I was to be fussed about any shirt number, it'd be the number 7.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm not too fussed about that, to be honest. For me, it's about the badge on the front and players playing for that badge on the front, not the number on the back.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little bit more superstitious about the shirt numbers. I don't know why.
But it's a bit of variety here.
It's not a lot. I don't care who gets like number 23 or whatever, but there's a couple of them. I think maybe number 1 is usually pretty important. I think obviously for being at Manchester United, number 7 is always going to be important. And number 9 and number 10, I think those are the 4 numbers that usually I look to and should be held by established, players who are going to make a difference, who are going to be consistent week in, week out. In my opinion, it's probably a load of nonsense, but
well, yeah, there's a lot of people that feel the same.
Yeah, I'm a bit torn on Rashford number 10. People who listen to the podcast know that I've been critical of him, and I will continue to be when he performs like he has done. I thought, the games he played on tour, I thought he was horrendous. But obviously, he's coming off a World Cup. He didn't get much game time. He's a little bit rusty. And I'm really hoping he can step it up. But for me, Rashford, I think he's got so much potential. And I don't think it's his body holding him back. I think it's his head. I really don't think he's got a footballing brain. To be an elite player, he can be. I think he can still be a great player, but I don't think he's got the mentality and the brain to be an absolutely world class top player. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he's winning the Ballon d'Or in a couple of seasons, but I can't see it. So having the number 10 shirt, as inconsistent as he's been over the last couple of seasons, it's a little bit frustrating. But good luck to the kid. If he's taken it, if he's shown that the confidence and the desire to take it and really try and run with it, then fair play to the lad. But I'd prefer to see it given to a little bit more established, a little bit more experienced and consistent player.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I don't think too many people would disagree with that. In terms of football intelligence, though, it's something you can learn if he can really get his head down and use his head a bit more. Then you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Lovely. So moving on, Mr. Southwick, we've already done your Andrew shout. We're not doing it again. He says, if you fine gentlemen could choose any youth player to be included in the first team this season, who would it be and why?
If I was to pick a youth player to put in the team this season, I would probably, out of two, I would go for. One of them being Axel Tuanzebe. So I think he's just brilliant. So much confidence on the ball, so calm, collected. He can pick out a good pass. Both pre-seasons that I've seen him on, I've always been very impressed with him. And he did feature in the season, I think, last year, didn't he, as well, once or twice. And I've always been impressed with Axel Tuanzebe, and I would have loved for him to have been promoted to the first team this season. So he would have been my number one choice, but he's gone out on loan. If I was to pick another one, basically, hypothetically, I'd probably say Tahith Chong, just because of his direct approach to a game and his willingness to pick up the ball and run at the defence, which is something we've missed on that right-hand side for quite some time. So that's the two players I would pick.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on Chong, and especially because he can play off the right, and we haven't got a right winger in our first team squad. Obviously not playing week in, week out, but playing a bit part role, cup games, maybe coming on as a substitute. I think he could have been useful. But
yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't mean first team regular, but like a promotion doesn't necessarily mean first team regular. I mean, look at Scott McTominay. He only featured a lot towards the beginning of last season because of injuries.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think he's ready. But yeah, I'd love to see him play a part, and I think he could add something to our squad. Secondly, I'd probably say Dimitri Mitchell, to be honest.
Just while I got it in my head, I was thinking about him as well. I was more impressed with him last preseason.
Yeah.
Not so much this time around. I don't think it's through any fault of his own. I think it was more the case that, the team weren't great at all in this preseason. But Mitchell's a good shout. I was very impressed with him last season.
I thought he had the first couple of games of the preseason. I thought he was pretty good. He was direct. He was confident. And I think that, you look at our left back situation. We've only got, obviously he can play further forward, but he has got experience playing at left back as well. And we've got Ashley Young and Luke Shaw. Ashley Young is so predictable. Obviously getting on, can do a job, but again, he can do a job. He's not an expert in that position. And Luke Shaw, we've seen how Luke Shaw can be. So having someone, to push them and challenge for that as well, could be beneficial. And I'd like to see him, get some minutes, whether, again, be a substitute or cup games or whatever. So I'd probably like to see him, given a shout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. Next then, John Chambers. He says we were 19 points back.
I missed one.
Did I? Oh, Matt, sorry. I missed the bearded thing. So I skipped past you. Sorry, it was that lovely profile picture that I did, by the way. He says, can't think of a question, but love you guys. Glad you're back. Hooray. Thank you, Matt. We love you too.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing to say, Matt. We'll have to get you back on again at some point because we enjoyed having you on last time. And the same goes to Andrew as well. And if anyone else wants to come on with us, now that we're using Google Hangouts to do this, it makes life so much easier to get guests on with us. So again, yes, if you want to join us, just drop us a tweet or a message, and we'll get you on.
Lovely. So yeah, I haven't missed one now. John James, we were 19 points behind City last season. Let's assume that they are at least not going to get any worse. We're only going to get more wins from to get them 19 points back this year. Change of tactics, new players, existing players stepping up to the plate. So how are we going to make those 19 points up that we didn't last season?
I think it's a combination of all three of those things, really. I think the biggest one is new players, because a lot of the players that we have just don't have the ability, essentially. And you can't improve a player who doesn't have the ability to be improved. And some of them are aging, i.e., Valencia, Young, which are our two biggest problem positions. So I think new players is a big thing that we need to claw back at least some of those 19 points. Existing players, there are some players that are very inconsistent, i.e. Martial and Pogba. I think if they can step up a bit more this year, that would definitely help. Change of tactics. But listen, last season, I said plenty of time that there was a few games that we've seen where we were absolutely fantastic. And, the attacking football was there. It was great, especially towards the beginning of the season. We've seen it a few times in the second half of the season, but not as much as we wanted. As I said last season several times, the intention or the football that we all want is always Mourinho's intention, and you can always see it. And I said it a few times last season. When you watch Mourinho on the sidelines, you can see him getting frustrated with the players not getting the ball forward quick enough and moving the ball around quick enough. You can see him on the sidelines. We know he knows what he needs to do. I'm confident that he wants that to happen. But again, the players just aren't able to do it. And so I think that it's not so much a change of tactics, although he does change his tactics to suit the game a lot of the time. Yeah. But I think having new players and existing players stepping up, that's where the big difference is going to be.
The thing that I always say, and I'll keep reiterating it because I think it's an important point. A lot of United fans, count last season as a disappointing season, as I do myself. But what you've got to remember is we were second in the league.
Yeah.
Granted, City ran away with it. There was no catching them. But we finished second, ahead of, the fantastic Spurs and the unbelievable Liverpool. We finished ahead of them in the league. We accrued more points than them. And we were the better team. Over 38 games, we were the better team. And okay, Liverpool have done some great business in the transfer market. Okay, but we've also improved our squad. As we've mentioned before, we've mentioned the likes of Pereira and Sanchez, improving and coming back. Again, the likes of Pogba and Lukaku, that's another season under their belt, with confidence, having good World Cups as well. We've got some more cover in Dalot. Granted, we need, maybe another signing or two just to shore things up. But we've improved our squad, and I think it's going to make a difference. And I don't think City are going to be 19 points ahead by the end of the season. I do think it's going to be a closer season, regardless of who finishes where. But I can see it being a lot more competitive, and I've got to look at it positively. It's a new season, For me, hopes are high. I'm really hoping that we go on and we do positive things. You only have to look at how we started last season, really, really well. And it was only until sort of Pogba and Bailly got injured that things started to fall off. So I'm hoping with the experience and everything of last season, we can improve on it. And I'm hoping we'll be up there. We'll be up there challenging and obviously have a better run in the Champions League as well.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Orbia, he says, is this finally going to be Pereira's season? Well, we've talked a little bit about Pereira, obviously rotating with Matic and whatnot. So hopefully he does get some game time.
Yeah, I think it could well be his season. Like we have already said, he won't feature every game, but this would be his chance to get a lot more game time and force his way as the number one choice over Matic.
Yeah. Moving on, Jose Japan JJ. He says someone to win. Or style or youth, someone everything, which was never there in the history of United. Don't fans have to prioritise? Doesn't the club have to come out and say their ambitions, which would displease fans? But fans would face reality and forget about past glory. Seeing all the players training, Marshall, Shaw, and all that were dying for Shaw to play, and he was awful during the preseason. Now fans want Sandro and whatnot. So I think he's making the point that fans don't really know what they want. which in some respects I can agree with. I think a lot of fans, especially the Martial FC, and I think they're still about. I've not heard much from them. But yeah, it's it's frustrating, and the same with Shaw. I mean, I've been calling out for Luke Shaw to play during large parts of last season, and again he's been very frustrated in the preseason. So look, it's no secret we do need to improve in areas in our squad, really drastically. Is it going to happen for the end of the window? Probably not, to be honest. But we need to make do with what we got. We've got some decent youth players, I think, that can come through and do a job. And I don't know what to tell you. I think it's going to be interesting. If we make it to Christmas, there or thereabouts, I think we'll be in with a shout. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's saying that fans just want everything, but that they can't, and then they change their mind a lot. So basically, saying fans can be fickle, and I think I touched on this last season as well. So the reason that people think fans are being fickle, everybody wants different things. Not generally, I feel fans are quite consistent in what they want.
Yeah,
it's just that so many people want different things. When you're scrolling through Twitter, it looks fickle. Somebody wants this, somebody wants that. It's like, well, they're not. Most of them are actually quite consistent in what they want. They just want different things. But I think he's right to say that you can't have it all. There was a time, maybe many years ago, decades ago, when that was possible. When transfer fees weren't astronomical, when clubs that are getting relegated are getting paid 100 million a year at the end of every season. Do you know what I mean? The money in the game is absolutely ridiculous, and all teams from top to bottom can strengthen and give you a game. And it's just not the same as it was anymore. For a top team to want to win 30 games a season, sometimes you do need to have an established player, an experienced player, world-class player, or at least a top-class player in every position. Look at Man City, and sometimes you can't have 2 or 3 youth players playing in the team at the same time because it's just they're not experienced enough. They're not quite at that level yet, and you're gonna sacrifice points by doing that. Now, there was a time years ago when you could, but maybe that time's been and gone. And sometimes you just got to take it on the chin and just be happy with what you have got. I mean, finishing second in the league isn't that bad, is it? But, I mean,
no.
The manner in which we did it wasn't great, but we did it. So I kind of get what Jose Japan is saying, and I kind of agree with him to an extent. But I think it's a bit unfair to call all fans fickle. I'm not saying that Jose Japan, if you're listening to this, I'm not saying that's what you're saying. But people do say that. They throw the word fickle around quite a lot. And actually, in actual fact, I do think that fans are pretty consistent in what they want. It's just that a lot of them want different things. So when you're looking at it, just looking at it in general, it does look like people are being fickle. But I don't think they are, really, to be fair.
Yeah. Moving on then. Okay, so Me Withy, he says, I think he or she, I don't want to assume anyone's gender in 2018. They have said, do we really need a centre half over 2 new fullbacks? Good question.
Well, it seems like Man United are prioritising that at the moment. All the rumours about Maguire, Alderweireld, or however you pronounce it, Jerome Boateng, with all these rumours about these centre-backs and nothing about full-back. To me, that's not Man United prioritising a centre-back over a full-back. To me, that's Ed Woodward. Like, put it this way, Jose Mourinho is going to give Ed Woodward a list of transfer targets, and he's obviously going to prioritise them by position and then by player, right? So you can always guarantee that fullbacks were right at the top of that priority list, obviously, and then maybe a centre back and then maybe a right winger. If we sign, obviously Woodward would then go and try to make the signing of the number 1 priority for fullback. Now, a player like Sandro, that's a deal that could take a long time to do. Milinkovic-Savic, a deal that could take a long time to do, because these are players that are going to have lots of additional details. It's not just a contract signing. There's lots of background details that need to be sorted and things like that. But smaller players, I mean, look at the likes of Bailly and Lindelof that came through, and Diogo Dalot. They all came through pretty damn quickly. Fred came through pretty damn quickly because they're not household names. You know what I mean? They don't have all this other stuff going on that needs to be dealt with in contract talks, so you can bring them through the door pretty quickly. They're probably lower down the priority list. Pogba the 2 seasons ago came quite close to the end of the transfer window. Players like that, those deals take a long time to do. So just because certain players are coming in first doesn't necessarily mean that they were the priority. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So although it sort of comes off like we're going for a centre half instead of 2 fullbacks, the reality of that is we're probably not. Ed Woodward's probably gone after some fullbacks, either not been able to obtain them because he doesn't want it, because the Glazers probably aren't giving him the funds to do so, or the negotiations are ongoing. We just don't know. But just because the rumour at the moment is we're close to signing a centre half doesn't necessarily mean that was the priority over the 2 fullbacks. I just think that's all we can get at the moment.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because there was, there's a lot of obviously talk in the media as there always is, but there was something about after the Real Madrid game. I don't know if you saw the video of Ed Woodward chasing down Jose Mourinho in the tunnel and sort of pulling him back. And apparently, people have said that they've worked out that he was saying it's done. Apparently about something or other. I don't know. And also coming out in the media today, Willian's comments saying that Jose Mourinho has been in contact with him and he's been asking his agent to get him into Manchester United. I've not seen the clip, but apparently he's quoted that on ESPN, I think it was. So that's interesting again. But you'd have thought that fullback would have been our biggest position that we prioritise. But as you rightly said, the players that we've targeted and we've gone for, they're high-profile players. That either the club who are trying to buy from don't want to sell, or they're not willing to sell for a realistic price. So it's very difficult. I mean, if we did get another centre back, I wouldn't complain because I really do think we need a leader at the back. I really think we need someone who's commanding, who's strong and experienced. I really do. So that for me, that's why the likes of Maguire, I wouldn't take him over someone like Alderweireld or someone. Although I don't want Jerome Boateng.
I would have taken him. Well, when did Germany win the World Cup? Was that
2014? Yeah, 4 years ago.
14. See, then I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'd have taken him then. Yeah.
At the time, I was like, we need to sign this player. He's fantastic in defence. But I've not heard anything about him since then. I don't think he was that great. I don't think he played much, did he, in this World Cup even?
Well, I don't think he's been the same since he got ruined by Messi, did he? In that game. So no. Plus, he used to play for Man City. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Come on. So, yeah, that's that. Thanking you. 2 more then. Chris Salazar. Why do you think so many people complain about Jose when he's the exact same man that he was all his other clubs? What manager would you like to replace him and why?
Well, first off, I wouldn't like any manager to replace him at the moment. People complain about Jose. They didn't like him then. I think that the people that didn't want Jose in the club, the people that don't like Jose now, are the same people that didn't want him in the beginning, before when it was only rumoured that he was taking over. I think those people have been very consistent. And then you've got the people who like him, who know what he can bring to the club. Yes, he has this very defensive style about him, but you got to look at the teams he's been with, and look at Real Madrid when he was with them. They broke goal scoring records. He won the league over Barcelona, scoring more goals than Barcelona. So when he gets the players he wants and gets the team he wants and the players that he trusts, he can get the best out of a team in all areas of the pitch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'm rooting for Mourinho. I'm a fan of Mourinho. I love the bloke. I love that he just says it how it is. He doesn't really care, because we all know he doesn't like match interviews and things like that. That's just why he's got that demeanor about him. But I don't care about that. When I see pictures of him having laughs and jokes and generally being happy during training sessions, that's what's important to me.
Yeah,
that relationship with the players, and what he said in interviews last season, which got everybody up in arms. Remember that after that Brighton game, when he pulled out the players, and I said, good, I'm glad. And then people were going, oh, he's going to lose the dressing room. 2 days later, pictures of him with that player having a laugh and a joke. It's just, it's, you know what I mean? People get on his back because they try to find an excuse to get on his back. He's not the only manager to be like that, for Christ's sake. But yeah, people complain about him when he's exactly the same man as was at the other clubs. These are the people that didn't want him in the first place. So they're just being consistent. Anybody who's turned against him now because of the football, because of the fact that we didn't win the league, and just look at what he has won. First season, he won 2 trophies plus the Community Shield. Yeah, our league campaign wasn't great, but he improved that considerably.
Yeah.
In his second season by finishing second. Okay, we didn't win trophies like we did the season before, but there was still an improvement there. The first half of the season, we played some really good football. So yeah, basically, I wouldn't want anyone to replace him yet. And do you know what? Last season, I shall remember that I said that this would be the transfer window that could, make or break him.
Yeah.
This third transfer window could be the one, but I don't think he's been backed well enough.
No, he hasn't.
Do you know what I mean? So we'll get into it. Well, actually, no, we'll get into it right after this. We'll give our hopes and predictions for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So if you want to just go on to the next one, the last one quickly.
Yeah, last one. So is Debanjan Gosh. He says the positives, please, which I like that.
Well, we've had a bit of a discussion already about positives. Well, if you're looking, talk about this, let's go and talk about the season ahead, shall we? What we want to, what we would hope for, and what we think we're gonna achieve. So in the league, domestic cups, European Cup. Go for it, Ash. You take it away first. Let's start with this. Let's do it both at the same time. So in the league, what do you hope for? But what do you think? What's the realistic outcome?
Well, I'm hoping we're in the league, but I'm not that hopeful for it. I think it's going to be very tough. I think there's teams around us that are a lot stronger than us squad wise. But I'm hoping we're going to be in the mix. I mean, a top 3 finish obviously would be preferable again. I wouldn't be ecstatic about that, obviously, but a top 3 finish I think is minimum is what we should be aiming for. I think Liverpool will push City a little bit closer this season, providing that they play well, because they've added to their squad really well. They've done some great business in the transfer market, unfortunately. So I think they'll go. I still don't think they'll win it. I still think City will probably edge them out. But I'm hoping we get top 3 in the league. We put in some decent performances. We start putting away some of these smaller teams. Again, no disrespect to them, but we start putting them away earlier and tidying up some of those stupid points that we let go last season.
Cool. I'm well, in terms of the Premier League, I'm hopeful that we can at least improve on last season. So I'd like us to be up challenging for the title. I would hope we would be. I don't think we'll do it. I think Man City will win it again, and I still think that Man City will do it fairly easily. Maybe not by 19 points, but I would hope that we were up there challenging them a bit more.
Yeah.
But realistically, I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but if we don't bring in any more players between now and the close of the transfer window, I think we'll be in a very tough scrap for top 4.
Yeah.
I generally do. I hope I'm proved wrong, obviously. Like you say, we've got players that are coming back loan, i.e. Pereira, who can add another dimension to our game. Obviously, Lukaku and Pogba and Sanchez, hopefully they will improve on last season. So there is hope there that we could mount a title challenge. I just can't see it. And I just honestly do think that we'll be in a scrap for top 4. When you consider the clubs around us, Arsenal have brought in some players. Granted, they're not fantastic players, but they've got a new manager, so they're going to be reinvigorated. Liverpool, we know that they can be a threat as well now.
Spurs are an odd one.
Yeah, Spurs though, have they made any signings this summer?
I think they don't think they've brought in or sold at all anyone.
No,
I was speaking to a mate of mine who's a Spurs fan, and I'm pretty sure he said that there's been no movements, which has been odd.
Yeah, so again, I mean, there are teams around us that have been improved, but I think that we will struggle for a top 4 in the Premier League. How about? Go on.
I was going to say I hope not, but it's looking like an increasing reality, isn't it?
So about domestic cups, then. I mean, it's difficult really to give a prediction or where you think will come, because you never know. We could draw Man City in round 3 of the FA Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Or a Premier League position in the first round of the League Cup, and we could go very early. So it all depends on the draw, really. I guess it's hard to predict.
Carabao Cup, couldn't give a toss. Play the youngsters. Let's play the youngsters every game. They need experience. They need bedding into the squad, and give them some game time. FA Cup, I'd like another run like last season. Obviously, the final was diabolical. It was a horrendous game where we just didn't really show anything. So another run like that, obviously with a better performance later on, that would be decent. But as a good a run as we had in the FA Cup, I think we should be prioritising the league and the Champions League over them.
So what do you reckon about the Champions League then? Do you reckon we'll improve on last year? I mean, personally, I do.
Yeah.
I think we'll get past the last 16 this time. I think we'll make it to the quarterfinal. Whether we get past there, I'm not confident about that. But I think we will see an improvement in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think quarterfinal bare minimum. Champions League. I think that's where I'm looking at. If we get to the quarterfinal, we put in some decent performances. Obviously, I'd like to go further, but one step at a time, taking it slowly. So yeah, for me, I'd love to get in the semis, but quarters, decent performance, I'll be happy.
Excellent. Well, I think that about rounds it all up, doesn't it?
Does indeed, I think.
You've got anything else to add?
I don't think so. Just don't be such negative Nancy's.
Negative Nigel.
Yeah, or negative Nigel. Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them.
But yeah, I'd say at least for those who are pessimistic and negative and are writing us off, give it till Christmas, and then then we can look at where we are in the season and whatnot. But for me, I'm trying to take things positive. It's a new season. Football's back. Be happy, people.
Yeah. And just before I forget, first thing I want to do is say thank you to everybody who's commented, given us some points to, and also for getting involved in the tweet yesterday afternoon, Sunday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. After the Bayern Munich game, I was quite overwhelmed actually because we've been away for so long, and our Twitter account hasn't been very active. I wasn't sure how many people would actually respond, and it was quite overwhelming to see how many people did. So thank you all for doing that. Hopefully you stay with us for the rest of the season. If this is the first time you're hearing the podcast, whatever app you're listening on, we can also be found on YouTube. We went on YouTube, I think, midway through last season or towards the end of last season. So it's still a very young YouTube account, only a handful of subscribers, but it is growing steadily. So if you do spend a lot of time on YouTube, look for us on there. Just search Talking Manchester United or the United Stand, and you'll find us. Subscribe and give us some comments. So let us know what you think on the podcast. Any points you agree with, disagree with, some points that we've maybe missed. So to get involved on there. Pretty much every Android podcast app we can be found on, and obviously Apple Podcasts as well. I think they've got a new podcast app. I'm not sure. I don't have any Apple products, but we can also be found on there. So make sure if you prefer to use Apple, then you can find us on there as well. One other thing as well, can't go without saying this, but as we did every episode last season, we do like to give a little promo to Kev Ashford's VanCam because it is just absolutely fantastic. I haven't spoken to Kev actually for a little while, so no. I hope he's still doing it. I actually don't know. I'll have to speak to him later on. But yeah, get over to YouTube and search for VanCam and subscribe to that as well. You may know Kev Ashford, formerly of the United Stand. He was a regular on there, funny bloke, and his VanCam is just absolutely hilarious. And he'll be pleased that Fellaini's staying as well because he does a Fellaini watch segment in his VanCam, which is always a barrel of laughs. So get over there and subscribe to that. I think that's it from me. How about you, Ash? If that's it, then do you want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, that's it from me. Yeah, Ash Bio at ASHBOIO. That's it from me. I'm not gonna waffle this season. That's it.
Excellent. You can follow myself as well at Paul Gardiner LP. Be sure to follow our podcast account at United Stand Pod because that's where we put the tweets out for you to get involved and get a note, get a mention on the actual podcast itself. And yeah, if you're not already, follow the main United Stand account at United Stand MUFC. Thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure. It's good to be back. Hopefully next Monday we'll be in a good mood reviewing a convincing win over Leicester and all will be well. So thank you all very much, and we'll be back next week.